So today is July 19th. We're going to take the Wheeler Gorge Nature Trail. It's only a half-mile hike. We are here. It goes around this little Matiliha Creek. Goes around. Have little markers here for the plants, but there's no guide here, so we're going to try and wing it and see if we know what these plants are. The trail starts here. It's pretty easy, just a half mile. There's lots of other trails out here in Ojai, but typically you got to drive to them. But later on we're going to hike the Ortega Hill Trail through the woods. You get access that up the hill here if you are so inclined. So let's go find a couple of our plants. There's a little stream here. This is a natural stream. It's formed by the volcanic faults or little interruptions in the faults, and then the water flows down. So this is real good water. Okay, stop number one coming up. So here we have tons and tons of poison oak throughout this whole place. So be careful. Now these are green. A lot of times you'll find them a little more purple-like, but you always recognize them by called leaves of three. 1, 2, 3. So two little guys and a long guy. If you brush up against this, then you get poison oak. All right, here's one here. So poison oak is not an oak. It's related to our sumacs and cashews. So this whole area up here is called a oak woodland transition. So we have oak trees from the genus Quercus. We have sycamores. We have alders. Lots of little weedy guys we'll talk about later. Lots of poison oak. Sort of the transition from the lowlands to the highlands. So we get a whole mix of lots of plants and bushes here. Now this tree here sort of looks like a western sycamore. It's called a white alder. And you notice the leaves here. Okay, they're a little green on top, a little lighter on the bottom, fully developed veins. Little veins, they alternate up the main vein instead of going opposite to the tip. It's a tiny serrated leaf. We have these little seed capsules here. All right, comes off of this tree right here. It's called a white alder. It's got this nice white bark on him. Okay, here we got to cross our little creek. Just be careful. No mosquitoes out today. And you might find an Arroyo frog in our creek, little tadpoles, and little insects called striders, and they walk on the water. There's a trail that goes up this way. So this little plant here, he's called a Yerba Santa, or in Spanish, a Yerba Santa. So he's an herb, like yerba, like an herb. Okay, he's got these really rough edges and long, lance-like leaves on this guy here, back here as well. So here we have a flowering one right here. Well, he's not, his flowers are done. But see little fuzzy little seed pods in there? So this tree is one of the most common trees we have here. Okay, our coast live oak is Quercus agrifolia. Okay, and this guy supports probably half of all the animals and creatures we find out here in our little oak woodlands. So the leaves on the outside, they tend to bend in more, and that's to help reduce evaporation and transpiration and loss of water. And the leaves on the inside, well, they tend to be a little flatter and more round. And they're serrated. This guy here is called a Hollyleaf cherry. He's got little leaves here that are very serrated. They're kind of holly-like. Dark green on the outside, on top, a little lighter on the bottom. Super wavy and serrated. Here's his berries. They're called choke berries. Like you choke on them if you try to eat it. Okay, he's called Prunus, ilicifolia. Okay, he loves our hot chaparral summers and the wet winters. So this plant here is an Arroyo willow. All right, he's got these long pinnate leaves that are dark on top and glossy on the bottom. So when he flutters, he kind of looks like a willow. And he loves to grow along the creek side. And the creek here is called an arroyo, which is a seasonal creek. This guy's got a little fungus on him. And he's kind of got purplish new growth. You see here? And inside, he's got really super stemmy, lighter colors. He's a Salix lasiolepis. Comes from the Salicaceae family, and that's where you get salicylic acid. So if you got a headache or a toothache, you can chew on these leaves, and it helps reduce the pain. This big old tree here, looking way up, this is a western sycamore. Anyway, you notice it's got these broad palm-like leaves, and this guy kind of burned down here. And he truncates, he's got like multi-trunks. So the ones you see in your shopping center, they're called American sycamores because they're a lot more tame. And they don't get all trunky and branched like this, so they look a lot better at your shopping center, like Home Depot or Lowe's or Vons or something like that. And he'll drop little like soccer ball seeds with lots of little thorns on them that mess up your lawnmower.
Oh, check this out.
There, we've got to check this out over here. And we got a little nest. That could be a hummingbird maybe. Or maybe a little wren. Very cute. Okay, western sycamore. There you go. It's our racemosa. Here's our Laurel sumac. All right. You notice he's got these what they're called taco shell leaves, and they fold up here. Okay, and one of the theories is the water will collect here, like the dew or the fog, and drip down the plant. He's got little flowers coming up, or seeds, and he'll turn into little fruits. He's got purple stems. The new growth is purple. The older growth is they're more bland or just, normal gray bark. So he's related to poison oak. Some people are sensitive to him, so if you rub him, you might get a little itch, but I don't think I do. This is our Laurel sumac. There's a huge cluster. Holy smokes. Wow. This is fantastic. This guy loves it right here. So this grass here, it's called valley needlegrass, or purple needlegrass. It's the state grass of California. All right, it's Nassula pulchra. It used to be called Stipa pulchra. And he's super common throughout all of California. He grows up real tall. You get these little seed on the end here. He flutters and blows in the wind, almost like a Mexican feathergrass, but he's much more defined. Now this little plant here, this is called black sage. All right, he's a true sage, Salvia mellifera. He loves to grow out here along our creek and our little mountainside. He's an evergreen shrub. He loves sunny, dry slopes. And he flowers from May to July. Let's see if I get to him without getting poison oak all over me. All right, there's his little leaves here. And so he's a true sage. And he smells a little bit like sage too. Black sage. Salvia mellifera. We got some over here too. Right there. All right. So this plant is super, super common up here. This is our chamise, Adenostoma fasciculatum. It's called a greasewood because he's really greasy and he loves fires. Okay, so the seeds here, they're sterile, but if there's a fire, then they'll open up and propagate. Okay, what else we got? Fasciculatum means fascicles or clusters, and if you look at the stem, we have a little cluster of leaves going up to the top. That's how it gets its species, fasciculatum. Almost like California buckwheat. It's called Eriodictyon fasciculatum. They have the same little pattern here, and what they do is they have tiny little leaves in bundles, and it really, really helps to reduce evaporation and transpiration or water loss off this plant. So if there's a fire, right, the whole plant will be obliterated, but down at the burl or the base are little tubers that'll come out and start new growth of one plant. So it'll kind of expand outward like we have here. It's called a chamise. In Spanish it's called a chamiso or chamizo. Okay, and we have giant chaparral areas in California called chamisals, and that's named after this plant, the chamise. Now here's another oak. He's a lot smaller than our other oaks. Usually you find them along the coast, but since this is a transitional area, we get a mix of inland oaks and coastal oaks. Look at this acorn, little cap, little cup here. Okay, and the acorn woodpeckers, they love the acorns. So do our Steller's jays. This whole hillside here is all chamise or chamiso. You notice a lot of this has been burned. See? It's all been burned here. And it loves it, and it comes right back. And he's kind of like the first one to come back and take over, so he's kind of the ruler, or the gobernadora, that's what they call him out here, because he's the most dominant species of this hillside. And here we have a little bug in our chamise. Let's see, there he is. You see that little green bug right there? It kind of looks like a leaf. Now here's some more of our black sage with former flowers that are seeded. And so it looks like here. It's our black sage from the genus Salvia. Long stalks and then a little cluster of flowers and seeds at the top. He's really happy here. And here we always find lichen up in these hills, also out in the desert. This is a mixture of algae and fungus that grows on these rocks. So of all the plants you need to know out here is your sumacs, your chamise, and this guy here is called a Toyon Heteromeles or biologist. You recognize him because he's got these serrated, he almost looks like a sumac, right? Like a laurel sumac, but he's super serrated, elongated leaves, okay? And you find them all the way out here. You find them all the way from, I don't know, Oregon down to Baja, California. There's a lot of them out in Los Angeles, in the canyons down there. So he flowers, all right, in spring, but his berries will come up in November or December, and they'll have these bright red berries. Look like holly. And the Europeans, they called this plant a holly. And the guys in Los Angeles, they loved it so much that they named the city Hollywood after this plant. Wow, look at this terrific chamise. Beautiful. The way it burned and it regrew, came back. Great flowers. Seeds here. It's a beautiful bush. And over here, there's a great looking Toyon. Perfect rounded shape. Holy smokes. These are gorgeous. Wow. And I think we have some mahogany up ahead. So this guy here, he is super special and very cool. He's called Western Mountain Mahogany. So these little leaves here, all right? But down here, he's got this super, super hardwood, just like our regular mahoganies. He's Cercocarpus betuloides, and he loves to grow out here in our chaparral. He always grows alongside Toyon, and also here our chamise plant. And he'll give us little flowers that come up all through July. He's a rosaceae, member of the rose family. But I don't see any flowers on this guy. But the flowers will have little seeds that have like little winglets or little furls on them that blow away in the wind. This stick-like guy, he's called flowering ash. Fraxinus dipetala. He's got these long stems that come up, and he's got this little cluster of flowers and seeds. And what he does in summertime, he'll lose his leaves, but he keeps chlorophyll in his stems. That's why they're green, to help continue photosynthesis. Okay, and his little seeds here, they got little tiny fluttery tails or wings, and they'll kind of just blow off in the wind to propagate somewhere else. We got some more of this called flowering ash right here and up here too. It's always this long stemmy guy that you find out here. They get pretty tall. Hey, this really waxy glossy guy, this is our mountain lilac, Ceanothus arboreus. Alright, he's got really dark leaves here. So this is the wild variety, but at home you're going to buy Ceanothus, probably a concha variety, which is a little cultivar of this plant. He'll get these beautiful